Hello, Malcolm here, and welcome to Tuesday Teaching Tips. This is episode 274, and I have a question. The question is, what's the point in going to conferences? What's the point of going to conferences? Do you go to Christian conferences? When you do go, do you like going? Do you even perhaps sometimes know why you're going? Now, the question is on my mind because this coming Thursday, I'm off to Tallinn in Estonia. I'm going to the conference there called Learning to Teach, Teaching to Learn. It runs from Thursday through till Saturday. I'll be there Thursday, coming back on Sunday evening after attending the church service in Tallinn, which I'm looking forward to. And I'm wondering, what's your experience of conferences? And I'm thinking about my purpose in going. I'm glad I'm going. I'm looking forward to going. It's my choice to go. I have, I think, some decent reasons for going, but it's important to think about why we attend these things, or perhaps if we don't, whether we might find benefit in targeting the attendance of conferences, whether they are local, in our own nation, or even abroad. And to help us with this, I'm taking a bit of a sideways look at an incident in Jesus' life in Luke chapter 2, when Jesus attended a conference, or perhaps you could say he created his own conference at the age of 12. So I'm not going to claim that my analysis here of Luke chapter 2 of Jesus as a boy in the temple is a good thorough exegesis of this, but I think there are some hints here at ways that we might want to think about conferences. So I'm sure you're aware of the story. Beginning in Luke 41, Jesus' parents are in Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. He's 12, and on his way home, they don't realize he's not with them. They travel on, and then they go back after 3 days and find him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. And when his parents saw him, they're astonished. Why have you treated us like this? We've been anxiously searching for you. Why were you searching for me? He asked. Didn't you know that I had to be in my father's house? They didn't understand what he was saying to them, and then he goes home with them back to Nazareth. So a few points for us to consider from this. Firstly, we see here that Jesus chooses the best over the good. You could say he should be considerate of his parents, but he chooses here what he believes is the best, not what is good. It would be good for him to be considerate of his parents, of course, but what's better is choosing to be in the temple right now for him. Or perhaps we could say it's what's needed, as Jesus himself will say to Martha, won't he? Later in Luke chapter 10, verses 38 to 42, when Mary chooses what is better or best or needed over what is good. Hospitality is good, but something's better. So Jesus is prepared to be misunderstood by his parents. He's prepared to unintentionally hurt those he loves in order to learn what he needs by attending this temple conference. Second thing, Jesus intentionally seizes the opportunity that presents itself to him. There's an opportunity and he grabs it with both hands. I mean, who knows when he will be in Jerusalem again? We don't know. Maybe not till he's an adult. And we don't know the quality of the teaching in Nazareth. He's going back to Nazareth. What's the quality of teaching there? It wasn't a big place. The teaching, it may have been decent, but it certainly couldn't have been as good as that he was finding here in Jerusalem. So Jesus makes the most of the opportunity to learn while he's there in the capital city. What about us? Do we make the most of the opportunities that God gives us to learn? Thirdly, we see here that youth is no barrier. He's 12. My goodness, he's 12. I mean, he wasn't intimidated by his elders. He wasn't intimidated by those with authority or those seeming to have authority. There are times when I go to conferences, actually, to be honest, every single time I go to a conference, I'm intimidated by somebody. There's somebody there who knows more than me. There's somebody there with more experience than me. There's somebody there who carries themselves with authority that seems greater than mine. Whether they're intending to or not, I don't know. There's always somebody who knows more about something than me. Now, of course, that's a good thing, but it can be a little off-putting at times. And perhaps I wonder whether we don't make the opportunities we could take in terms of learning because we're afraid of people. We're afraid of being shown up. But he's not bothered about that. Fourth thing I see here is it says that Jesus is there, what's the phrase? Listening to them and asking them questions. Clearly they ask him questions because it then says they're amazed at his answers. So he's debating, he's discussing. He's not completely passive. He is listening. So he's submissive to God's word. He's listening to God's word. He's listening to people explain it. Then he's asking questions, and then he's prepared to debate and discuss and give answers. It doesn't say I don't think this implies he's argumentative. It's more that he's engaged in the learning process. And I wonder whether we might get more out of conferences, and perhaps when you look back at conferences you didn't get much out of, whether it might be our approach that needs updating. And instead of just going to listen and going home again, we might want to go to listen and ask, discuss, give our own ideas, get other people's ideas, and not only listen to lessons, but perhaps in between, during fellowship or afterwards or over meals, discuss what we learned, ask questions, and give our own thoughts as well. So Jesus shows a healthy balance, I would say, between deference and curiosity. And the fifth and final thing I see here is that Jesus saw an opportunity as being more important than knowing whether he had all the resources he might think he needed. His valuing of the opportunity overcame a lack of resources. We have no idea where he stayed while he was in Jerusalem and his parents were elsewhere. We don't know where he slept. We don't know how or if he ate anything. Maybe there were relatives nearby. It's quite possible, but we really have no idea. And can you imagine? He's 12 and he thinks, you know what? My parents can travel on. I'll catch up. I'm going to the temple. How did he work out where to sleep and eat and all that? And he did not have access to Uber or Airbnb or even a credit card or anything. I mean, we don't know, and I don't want to read too much into it, but it seems to me that his eagerness over the opportunity overcame any obstacles about a lack of resources. And I think that's important because attending conferences can be expensive, whether it's in a foreign country or another city, or even just down the road. There are costs to be borne by going to a conference, and not all of them are financial. Attending conferences is costly in many different ways. For example, your local ministry, your friends or your family might not understand why you are going. They might not value you going and prefer you to stay. You might not appear to have all the resources, maybe not enough money and time, you feel. Maybe you think yourself too young or too old to go. Maybe you think you'll offend people by attending, by being associated with certain people who will be at the conference that other people don't value. Maybe you'll have to make sacrifices of time and energy. As I get a little older, I know I will come back on Sunday night and there will be a cost to my energy for not just that day, but maybe a day or two or three afterwards. I'm going to have to bear that in mind. I find traveling tiring. I find conferences tiring. I have to get up early to go to the airport. I'll be staying up late chatting to people. I want to make the most of the opportunity. There's a cost to be borne. I will have more aches and pains. And that's just the way it is. And one final thing in terms of a cost that's close to my heart, because I feel this quite keenly, is there's a cost of our ignorance being exposed. We will learn things we didn't know we needed to know. We will be asked questions, perhaps, that we don't have answers to. One's ignorance being exposed is a vulnerable and a little scary, vulnerable place to be, a little scary. I want to encourage myself as I say this, and any of us that feel the same way, that God is with us, and his approval is not about our level of knowledge or ignorance. His approval and love of us is unconditional. So that's something to bear in mind. So what do you think about these things? Do you go to conferences? Do you like them? How do you choose to go or not? Have you been avoiding such things for any of these fears of sacrifice we've been talking about? I mean, who knows how many opportunities you and I will have to attend events, so let's put it that way, whether it's called a conference or not, to attend events that can inspire us, educate us, equip us, spiritually, personally, but also so that we can go and bless other people. How many of these are there going to be in your life and mine? I'm going to Estonia because I don't know if I'll have next year or if that conference will exist next year. I'm going to learn from Greg Moretsky, from Andy Fleming, from Douglas Jacoby, from Matty Sim, from Roland Monge, from Andy Boachi, from all the people that will be speaking. I'm doing one lesson. I'm happy to do that. And please pray I do a good job of teaching on the book of Haggai. But I'm not going to teach, really, much as I enjoy that. I'm going to listen and learn and discuss and prayerfully be enriched so that I can grow in my love of God and his word and come back with something useful for everybody else. I've asked the Watford Church to pray for me, that I'll come back with something useful for them. I pray for the Thames Valley Church that I love too, and that I can come back with something useful. But what do you think about these conferences? Are you going to go to this one? I mean, you can. It's not too late to register and come. I've put the registration details in the show notes, so you can find it there, or you can watch it online if you want to. And I put in a couple of photos in the show notes too of last year's event, which was very inspiring indeed, and really personally very, very helpful. So when I get back from Tallinn next week, I will record a report. In the meantime, you can ask me any questions you like. Have you got any thoughts, any comments? If you want a free copy of my ebook on spiritual disciplines, sign up for my newsletter at the website, malcolmcox.org. You can drop me a line on the email, malcolm@malcolmcox.org. If you know anybody that might benefit from this, pass the link on. Subscribe, hit the notification button. Why not? It won't do you any harm. And until the next time, keep calm and carry on teaching. Take care. God bless.